All right, guys, welcome to the training. Today is going to be all about habits and how to establish the right habits to get you to where you want to be instead of the contrary, doing the wrong things that set you back, make you start from scratch all the time, and ultimately not living in alignment with the person that you want to be because having the right habits and starting small, as we're about to learn, is how you eventually go from being someone who is undisciplined and doesn't have any structure in their lives to being someone who just through small changes can really transform who they are as a person. And then right here, I'm just showing a few of the things that I do in the morning, which we're going to learn more about that in the presentation. But read a page of a Stoic book in the morning, make sure I journal every single day, and then how that sets the foundation for me becoming the kind of person who naturally stays in shape throughout the entire year, goes to the gym, enjoys the process from establishing this first. But if you guys saw the previous PowerPoint, I went over the high performance pyramid where we went over mindset. And that was the primary focus throughout that presentation and how that is the foundation to everything being able to blossom and work in your favor. So you want to be able to make sure you have the right mindset, that you really control the thoughts that you have, what you believe, being able to remove any self-limiting beliefs that you might have about yourself or about what's possible in life, being able to really calibrate yourself mentally before doing everything else. Because most coaches, they ignore the first two steps here when it comes to crafting the physique that you want, being successful in life, being able to achieve your goals. It all starts from having the foundation of having the right mindset. And then from there, establishing the right habits in accordance with that mindset to where the training and the nutrition just comes naturally as a byproduct of you being able to raise yourself up to a higher standard and just live in accordance to how you know you need to live to get to where you want to be in life. So yeah, the last PowerPoint was on mindset. Today it's going to be all about habits, like I said. So let's get right into it. Okay, so why do habits matter? I just wanted to go into my story for a second, just kind of talking about how I got here and the transformation that ensued after I was able to establish the system that I'm about to show you. So right now I'm 31 years old and I'm living in Colombia as a full-time online coach. But for the longest time, I had a lot of self-doubt. I had self-doubt that I was unable to become a personal trainer, which is the picture right here on the right. And I was working a 9 to 5 job I didn't like throughout essentially all of my 20s after I graduated college up until about a month ago. But I had a few separate jobs within that time frame, but I was in a career field I didn't actually like, and that led to me having this void that I was trying to fill. And I filled that through going to parties, going to festivals, going out drinking. And also on the other side, I was, getting in better shape and I built a pretty good physique. But throughout that entire process, because I didn't have structure, I didn't have a system that I followed, I just always felt out of alignment because I knew that I could amount to more and that I wasn't reaching my full potential, which is why I felt stuck in that cycle. And I didn't know how to get out of it because I had self doubt that I was unable to live the life that I truly wanted to live, which is by doing what I'm doing right now. And that started from me making the shift within my habits to where I established structure, I established a system that I adhered to, which led to me overcoming the self-limiting beliefs that I had within me becoming a personal trainer, in which I said enough is enough when I reached about 30 years old. And then I got my certification through NASM to become a certified personal trainer. Got a job in a private gym while working my 9 to 5 job. And I was also building my online coaching business on the side. And I was doing all of that for about 9 months. And I wouldn't have been able to do so if I didn't have this system that I'm about to show you right here. So that really transformed my mindset from the ground up, having the right habits and then taking the right action to where just over time I was able to overcome those self-limiting beliefs that I had about myself. And it's what led to me being where I'm at today. So you don't become successful by accident. This is something that we all know. And it's very obvious, very apparent that the successful people that actually get to where they want to be in life do so because of how they carry out each and every day and having consistency within their habits, within their routine, and being able to be productive on a consistent basis. And that just becomes second nature over time, and it makes it to where consistency becomes effortless. And at first, there might be a little bit of friction when you try to add something new into your routine or when you replace a bad habit for a good one. But over time, if you have the right mindset and the right approach, you're going to be able to figure out that it becomes second nature, it becomes natural over time. And then also, you are what you repeatedly do. So every single thing that you do on a micro and a macro scale reinforces a certain identity. And you want to be sure that everything that you do is in alignment, that is congruent with the person that you want to become, and just having awareness of the things that you're doing and how they can either make you better and over time make you more and more likely to achieve your goals, or if they can be detrimental to your progress. So even like the very small things that you do each day and where your attention is, where your focus is, how you see yourself, all of these things matter when it comes to the actions that you take and then what follows as a result. And then, yeah, kind of like what I'm saying, small habits compound over time. So even if you just replace a few bad habits for a few good ones, over time, it's going to add up. It might not seem like much. An example of this is just going for a 5-minute walk every single day. And it might not seem like anything, but over time, it's going to reinforce the identity that you are someone that is active. And it'll make it a lot more natural for you to start to go on longer walks and to do other things, other tasks that are in alignment with the person that you want to become. So even small changes add up over time, and it replaces something that you were doing that was detrimental previously with something that is now beneficial. So, you can't act like doing small things won't have a significant impact, and you have to cultivate the mindset that you have the ability to really transform your life and go into a new trajectory if you just make small changes. And then right here, it's just showing how your mindset leads to the habits that you take, your behavior, which then leads to the results that you're seeking. So, you can't ignore one or the other. Like, you really need to hone in on everything in order to get to where you want to be in life. Because if you only focus on the action and you neglect mindset and your habits, then you're just going to fall right back to where you started if you don't have that structure set in place. Okay, now going a bit deeper into habits, it's important to realize that most of the habits that we have are how we deal with the recurring problems in our lives. And an example that I have right here is after a long day of work, depending on the person, they have a solution to that exact same feeling, that same stimulus, that same situation. So, after a long day of work, we've all experienced that. You feel a bit groggy, you feel tired, you feel a little bit worn out. But from that exact trigger, one person might go for a run, another might have a drink, another goes to the gym, another smokes, and another scrolls on social media, watches Netflix, etc. So each person has their own built-in mechanism to how they deal with that exact same feeling. But based on the response that you have, it sets in motion a different life trajectory. Because over time, if you stack all of these things up, it's going to make it to where you go down a different path in life. If you're the type of person that likes to scroll on your phone after you get home from work instead of walking or going to the gym, and that's kind of built into the way that you go through things, then over time, this is going to have a huge effect on your psyche, on how you see life, because all of your inputs lead to your outputs. And you're not going to be burning as many calories as you would if you were going to the gym, going for a run, doing something productive. And then the more that you do this, the more it reinforces the identity of someone who is lackadaisical, lazy, doesn't take full control of their time. And that just leads to you, if you have the intention or have the goal of wanting to be in shape, but you're doing the opposite every single day after work, then it's going to make it harder to get into a flow, into a routine of being able to be the kind of person that goes to the gym. Actions speak a lot louder than words. So if this is built into the way that you do things, then it's going to be harder. There's going to be more friction when it comes to being able to live the life that you actually want to live. And the easiest way to be able to change this is by starting small. So even if you aren't in the routine or in the cycle of going to the gym or going for a run, going for a walk, just start small. Just go to the gym for 20 minutes, go for a 5-minute walk, and then over time you can build up. But you just have to be able to control your inputs and just have awareness of like what every single thing that you do, what it leads to, because everything that you consume on your phone, as an example, influences the way that you think, influences the way that you feel, and then will lead to you potentially wanting to do other bad habits as a result of you being on your phone, or as a result of you having one drink, because then it lowers your inhibitions and you're more likely to act on that. And then same thing if you smoke or vape too. So it's just good to have awareness of everything that you do and the potential that it has to have a cascading effect in other areas of your life as well. All right, and this slide is all about identity-based action, the four laws of behavior change. And this is actually from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he goes into detail about the four laws of behavior change that you need to instill to reduce friction with good habits and then add friction with bad habits in order to make that initial change. And it's important to realize first that every action that you make is a vote for your future self, even if it's small. Like I was just saying, even going for a 5-minute walk, even though it doesn't seem like much, that's going to add up over time and it's going to make you more likely to act in accordance with your future self. And it helps give you more self-trust, more self-efficacy, to where you see yourself differently and you have a little bit more belief in yourself that you can do this, you can stick to this. When you start easy, and then over time you can build it up, and then it can become something that's more ingrained into your routine. And the changes that happen to your identity happen in real time. You can't be overly focused on the results. You just have to be focused on the process, because that's all you have ultimately. And it really helps being able to do that, because when you focus too much on the outcome, then it takes you out of the moment. And the real joy throughout all of this, being able to change oneself, being successful and wanting to get somewhere in life, is being able to enjoy every step of the way, even the moments that seem bad on the surface or have friction, just being able to enjoy the journey and the process of becoming someone new. So going into the four laws of behavior change, the first one that you want to do is make the good habits obvious, and then the opposite for the bad habits. So a simple one is right here on the right side of the screen. I've got my protein, my creatine, my electrolyte powder right on my counter, and it's obvious, it's right there, so I don't miss it whenever I make a protein shake, or within my morning routine, I like to drink electrolyte powder. It's right there. So, if it's that obvious, you're not going to miss it. And you just want to put everything that you want to do, like put your running shoes out right by your bed, doing stuff like that's where you don't miss it. You see it, it's right there, and you're more likely to act on it. And then you also want to make it easy. This is what I've been talking about this whole time. Instead of going for a 30-minute walk or an hour-long walk, if you want to lose weight, just first go on a 5-minute walk. If you're not used to going to the gym, go to the gym for 20, 30 minutes. And then over time, start to add to that. You want to make it easy. You want to reduce the friction, because you'll be more likely to stick to a habit that feels easy. You also want to make it attractive, and then the opposite for the bad habit. So you do that by educating yourself, being informed with why what you're doing is good, why it's beneficial. And then on the contrary, for the bad habits, why smoking or vaping is bad, why drinking is bad, being able to inform yourself and being able to burn that in your brain as to why you shouldn't be doing a certain habit and why you should be doing one that is actually good for you. The last one is make it satisfying and unsatisfying. So for good habits, you make it satisfying by rewarding yourself after you performed a certain act. For an example, right here, after I completed a workout, I got a frozen popsicle stick right outside the park that I work out at. And that's great because, you have something to look forward to after you complete the good habit. And then on the contrary, if you do a bad habit, you can make a deal with a friend or a partner that if you partake in this bad habit, then you owe them money or there's something on the line. But ultimately, you want to focus on the first three. I think these are the best, and probably the first two are the best, and the third one is probably the third best. So you just want to focus on being able to do that and really simplify it. It'll make it easier to replace the bad habits with the good habits and to be in the right direction ultimately. Okay, the power of routine. So what I really stick to and what I'm very passionate on is the 5-4-5 method. And that is where you write down your 5 most important goals that you want to accomplish either by the end of the year. They can be long-term goals, short-term goals, but just the 5 most important goals to you that are the most meaningful to you. And then I write that down on the first page of my journal right here. So my 5 most important goals, and then a 4-step morning routine that's going to put me in a high frequency state to be able to achieve those goals. And then each day I write down 5 tasks that I'm going to do that are in alignment with those goals. That'll just get me one step closer, because you don't have to do anything extraordinary or anything insane. You just have to make sure that even on days where you want to take it a little bit lighter, that you feel a bit worn out, you feel tired, being able to still do something that's going to move the needle even just a little bit, because it reinforces the identity, which is the most important piece here. So for my 4-step morning routine, I first make my bed, I drink electrolyte powder, I read a page in a Stoic book, and I write one page in my journal. And then I write the 5 tasks that I'm going to do each day. So you want to keep it simple. You want to keep it something that you can stick to, because even on days where you're a little bit off course, you're overloaded, whatever it might be, you want to find something that is simple, that is effective, that takes you maybe 10 or 15 minutes, to where it'll put you in the right state of mind and you'll be primed, ready to accomplish your goals. And that's the whole point with this. You don't want to have some crazy 8-9 step morning routine that takes you an hour to do, because it's not going to be sustainable. You want to make sure that you have something that's set in place that you can do every single day, even when you're super busy. And the way that this works is that it creates alignment with your future self and your desired reality. So the biggest thing you want to realize is that failing to plan is planning to fail. You want to plan each day the night before. So the night before, I like to create kind of like a rough draft, an outline of the things that I'm going to do the next day. I don't have to know exactly what I'm going to do, but at least have some structure with how I'm going to move through the day and the most important things that I want to prioritize. So being able to just have that in my mind, have awareness of that, and then I'm more likely to be able to actually execute and capitalize on that in the morning and going into it with momentum. So, your morning routine starts the night before, and you want to make sure that you fully calibrate then, and you go to bed at the right time too, so that you can wake up fresh, ready to go. Okay, the one question, this is very simple, very straightforward. So the one thing that you want to ask yourself when it comes to everything that you think, every action you make, every task, everything that you do in life essentially, is this moving me closer or farther from my goals? And it's very simple, very straightforward. So you do that by taking inventory of everything that you are exposing yourself to on a daily basis. And like I was saying earlier, you are what you consume. Your inputs become your outputs. So if you scroll on your phone too often, if you're just consuming random content that doesn't really do anything for you, if you're not living with intention, then it's going to have an effect on, your outputs, what you do in life, where you go in life. And you want to be able to make sure that you really focus, really concentrate on only doing things that are going to move you closer to your goals. And yes, we can't be perfect. It's okay to, have some impulse that might come in here and there, or you might want to just act on spontaneity. That's okay. It's okay to just, enjoy life, have fun here and there. And since I've been in Colombia, I haven't been perfect. But through having a morning routine, through having a system that you adhere to, it makes it so much easier, even if you go off track for a day, to just get right back to where you started, to go right back to square one, and to really just be unfazed by anything that might happen in life, because you have a system, you have structure that you adhere to through the 5-4-5 method. And it just makes it feel effortless, because you spend a lot more time being in alignment, being congruent to the person that you want to be. Therefore, it feels more natural to be that person than to be on the other side of things. So the more time that you have the right tasks in place, that you take the right steps to get to where you want to be, the more likely you are to adhere to it. And that's the most important thing here. So every decision either builds your future or delays it. So if you have a day where you're a little bit out of alignment, you don't want to beat yourself up about it. You don't want to just be way too hard on yourself, but you want to be aware that it just delays the success that you can achieve down the road. And you want to be able to just take advantage of life in the time that you have, and just having awareness that, life is a gift, like I was talking about on the previous PowerPoint, but life is a gift. We should be grateful to even be here. And just from that fact, and from having awareness of that, being able to treat your life with respect, wanting to be someone great, and just being aware that, okay, if you want to partake in anything that isn't in alignment with who you want to be, that's okay. But just know that it's going to delay your progress and your success that you ultimately want to achieve. You also want to be able to realize that having intention is great, but you want to be more focused on the attention that you have every single day. What do you focus on? What are your inputs? How do you spend your time? Because a lot of people, they have a goal. They want to achieve something. They want to be successful, and they have that intention there, which is good. But the better question to ask is, how do you actually spend your time? What are you doing on your downtime? What's the mindset that you currently have? And are you taking steps every single day to get closer to your goals? Is your attention there, or is it on anything extraneous? Is it on anything that's not actually serving you? So from like a mental standpoint and then also an action standpoint, like what are you doing? What are you thinking every day? Is it in alignment with the person that you want to become, or is it always scattered? So a better indicator of progress is you being able to have the right attention in your life and if it's congruent to the person that you want to become. Okay, I already touched on this earlier a little bit, but having outcome independence is critical. You know, you want to focus on the process rather than the outcome because it is ultimately all you have. All you have is the journey. And if you place overimportance on the outcome or the goal, it reinforces scarcity because it implies that you are dependent on you being able to achieve something in life to feel complete, to feel fulfilled. But you want to come at it from the opposite angle, being focused on who you are becoming in the process, being able to have the effort be the reward when you're going to the gym, when you're trying to become someone new, and just being able to derive enjoyment from just the small things in life. Because you want to act as though you already have the desired outcome, and that really reinforces having inner alignment with the goals that you have. The best way to do this is by creating a vision board, and that's what I have down here. So this is what I created before I got to Colombia. I just have a few locations of where I want to go in South America. We got Machu Picchu right here, Costa Rica, and this is where I'm staying in Colombia, right here in Medellin. So I had this on my wall for about 8 months prior to when I actually made it down here, and that just reinforced that this is my life, and being able to align with that version of myself who was already there. The more that you see it, the more that you act in accordance to it, the more real that it is. So you just want to be able to reinforce the person that you want to be by what you see, what you expose yourself to, because like I said, your inputs become your outputs. And you know, you don't want to just want something to happen in life. You want to actually choose it. Like, no, I choose that this is where I'm going. This is who I am. Because when you want, it signals lack. You want to focus on the process, obviously, but just come at it from the frame that, like, no, I know that I'm going to get there. I choose this reality. I'm not just going to like want it to happen, you know, because you want to reinforce that you're taking this seriously, that this is your life now. And you do that by focusing on the process, who you're becoming. And you just don't want to overcomplicate it, you know, because if you want it too heavily, that implies that you're not focused on the present moment. You're not focused on the process because you're just wanting your life to change. You're wanting the outside world to show you something different. You're wanting your life to be different. But in order to get to that point, you need to derive enjoyment, satisfaction, fulfillment. You want to be connected with the process because that's what it takes to get there. And if you somehow get there in any other fashion, you're not going to be able to sustain it because you didn't do the right steps in order to deserve that outcome. So the only and best way to do this is by focusing on who you're becoming, focusing on the present moment, and deriving joy from it. Okay, so here's my current system simplified. It's just 3 simple steps. So plan the night before. Like I said earlier, you want to make sure that you have a rough outline of how you want to spend the day. And something I also do in accordance to that is setting an intention the night before. So I kind of do like a review of the entire day and just kind of see where I went wrong, what I could improve going into the next day. And then I write down in my notes like what I need to focus on, what my intention is going into the next day, and how I want to frame it, you know? So I just want to have awareness of, you know, like what I can do better, set the intention and set the plan the night before. Going into the next morning, I make sure I do the 5-4-5 method. I got my 5 goals already written down, my 4-step morning routine that I execute. And then I write down my 5 tasks that are going to move the needle even just a little bit in being able to reach my goals. In addition to all of that, I've been doing 100 push-ups every single day. I'm on day 17 right now. That's me right here doing it. And that just reinforces the mindset of having discipline, having consistency, being in alignment with me, being a coach, being in good shape. And it takes hardly any effort. It takes me like 5 or 7 minutes to do, but it has a huge effect on my psyche and how I see myself. And it just helps me feel that much more alert and awake going into each day, feeling that much more motivated. And if you guys are looking to, you know, get in better shape and build a physique that you want, a great way to start doing so, which is a small habit that you can start doing, is doing that as well. Just do 50 or 100 push-ups every single day. Start to add to that over time. But, you know, if you don't have access to a gym, if you're super busy, it's a great way to just get some activity in, and you'll actually notice a change to your chest and your triceps and potentially your shoulders too. It's all about just being able to do small, simple things that move the needle and just make you feel better about yourself, because you want to align every action with your future self. And just having that awareness, being able to think about what would my future self do in this exact scenario? And being able to outline like what your future self actually looks like, what he does on a daily basis, how he carries himself, the kind of qualities that he possesses. You want to be able to like visualize that in your mind and then act in accordance to that. It's actually very simple. You don't need to overcomplicate this. You just need to find a system that works. And I just showed you guys what that is for me. But you can feel free to, make a few changes to that, do what feels right for you. But as long as you find a system and a structure that works for you that you can stick to every single day, you have to realize that making significant change, making progress, becoming successful in life happens over months and years, not days or weeks. So you have to be able to, further reinforce that by focusing on the process and who you're becoming. And just know that it's so important to find a sustainable solution to that, because you want to find something simple, something effective that you can do every single day. Because when you stack the days, when you stack the wins, that's when you see noticeable change after months. But you have to be willing and able to go through that for a few months, and you do so by enjoying the process, enjoying what you're doing, and being able to derive satisfaction from it. Because if you don't, it's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to get to where you want to be. You're going to fall right back. So the more simple and the more effective it is, the more that you enjoy it, the more you'll be able to adhere to it. And as a result, the more progress you will make. All right, last slide here is a few books that I recommend that relate to this topic. So first one, which is the best book when it comes to habits, it is the gold standard, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that goes into more detail about what I was talking about earlier on that last slide. All right, next up, we got The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. This is a great book to add to your morning routine. It's what I read for my morning routine. It's got one page for each day of the year that you read, and it's centered around Stoic philosophy just to set the right mindset going into each day. Last one here is The One Thing by Gary Keller. This one kind of simplifies self-improvement and being able to be productive by focusing on the one thing that's going to move the needle the most in your life to get to your goals. And the last thing here is that your life is built through the habits that you repeat. You are what you repeatedly do. So just have awareness of that when you move through life. Is this moving me closer or farther from my goals? Being able to draw the line somewhere, and for the most part, just being in alignment, because we can't expect to be perfect, but just having a system that you can fall back to, because we always fall back to our systems, our habits, our structure. So if you don't have that in place, you can't expect to make tangible progress in life. So it's all about the systems. It's all about how you carry yourself and what works best for you. So with that, I will leave you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.